This ancient city, as I mentioned, this is the biggest open-air museum of Turkey, and it's the biggest outstanding ancient city of the world. Even though this city was founded by 4 different empires at 4 different times, today whatever you see on the surface today is from the last city of Ephesus. Most of the ruins are dating back to the 1st and 2nd century AD. They are all original and they are usually 2000 years old. 2000 years ago, this city was actually having their most prosperous time. Maybe reminding for you, they were one of the capital of the Asian provinces of the Romans. They were one of the most important financial and commercial centers of the whole world. But every time I say it was the important financial and commercial center, first of all, this was the city where money was first discovered and used in the world. Also, the first exchange offices, the first stock market, the first bank offices, always built by the people of Ephesus. So in the history, it was always known as the city of money, ladies and gentlemen. Since the 19th century AD, by Turkish, German, and Austrian archaeologists, Ephesus has been still excavating. But whatever you see today on the surface is only the 30% of the city. The rest, 70%, is still at underground. So you can imagine how it was bigger at that time. He made good close relationship with them. That's why in his second tour, in his second visit, he decided to organize one big meeting to the people here. He collected 24,000 people in the theater and he told to everybody, there is no Apollo, no Artemis, no Zeus. These are all lies. Only one God is Jesus Christ himself. Actually, many people believed to him, but some of them, they didn't want to believe to him. They were the people who were making money from the statues of Apollo and Artemis. So if they are going to be Christian, this means there will be no more business for them. That's why they say, oh, we don't believe you, get out from the city. They kick him out from the city. That's why Ephesus people became Christian 400 years later after St. Paul died. But this was the exact place where he gave this famous sermon. Since last year, they have been doing some construction. That's why we had no chance to go inside. 2,000 years ago, sea was right here. That's why the name of this street was Harbor Street. Before here was the place where the harbor was located. And next street is going to be the Marble Street. Marble Street is passing through the Agora, which was called as Commercial Agora. They had 2 different Agora. One of them is Commercial Agora, another one is State Agora. Commercial Agora was the place where they do the import and export. And State Agora was the place where they were selling the top quality products to the actually only aristocrat families. Aristocrats were the high class, public class people of the Romans, and State Agora was only allowed for them to enter. You can imagine, just like high class shopping mall today. You can imagine before here was the place where they were selling like today's brand, like Gucci, Armani, Chanel, Prada. When we are walking through the Agora, we are going through the ex-shopping mall actually, and you can see the ruins from there. See the beautiful library, this way please. The most beautiful building to see in this city is the beautiful library which is at opposite you see. The name of this library is Celsus Library. When I say Celsius, I'm sure many of you remember the famous scientist who discovered the temperature degree unit, Celsius. But this Celsius is different than that guy. This Celsius was the city governor of Ephesus who had lived here in the 1st century AD. Once he died, his son especially wanted to bury him in the downtown. But at that time, this was illegal in the Roman law. That's why to find a reason to bury his father, he built one small library, then he buried his father under the library. But day by day, time by time, the library was expanded, and finally, just 100 years later, it became the number 3 largest library of the world. Maybe reminding for you, the biggest library of the world at that time was in Egypt, in Alexandria. They used to have 500,000 books. Second largest one, yesterday we already visited in Pergamon, we saw it, which was Pergamon Library. They used to have 200,000 books. And this was number 2 largest, the Celsus Library of Ephesus. They used to have 160,000 wallpaper books. As I mentioned, when I say book, don't imagine the big size book like today. At that time, one scroll, one paper was considered as one book. The building was originally really beautiful with its marble decoration. Inside was for the storage of the book. exterior was so beautiful with its marble decoration. Besides the marble pillars, they used the statues of four ladies, which we are calling with the name of four virtues. They are named one by one from left to right. First one on the left side is Sophia. Second one is Arete. Third one is Ennoia. Last one is Episteme. Names are not so important because four of them are symbolizing the same thing, which is wisdom, intelligence. There is one funny story about the rich man of Ephesus about the library. You know, rich guys, we are calling them aristocrats. Aristocrat guys usually were quite lazy with their lifestyle. They never work. They only spend their time to enjoy their life. And usually they prefer coming to library in the night time because this was the easiest way for them to get the permission from their jealousy wives. When you find ask them, Alice, where do you go at this time? They say, my dear, I go to library to study. After they come to library, they will give you few books for a while. Then by using the underground passageway just at the opposite, as you see, they were immediately crossing to the opposite side. Why? At the opposite, there was the broken house. They were going there from studying another kind of science. To find the real exact place of Ephesus city. In the second part, you can see one more stone that belongs to another female goddess, whose name was Tyche. Tyche was the goddess of the fortune, she was the goddess of the fate. They always keep her stone head in the temple for keeping always good luck together with the city. And now it's time to see the most exciting place. I would like to invite you to the 2,000 years old. This place is latrine. Latrine in Greek language, also in Latin language, it means public toilet. But you can be sure this was not the toilet only for public. This was originally for rich men. Yeah, please don't think that this was the place for the people to come and use for their needs. Sometimes they come here to spend 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, even longer. So this was a kind of social club for the rich men. Before they come here, they always send their slave first. Why? As you see, originally seats are all marble. Marble is very cold in winter time. So slave need to come a bit earlier to take a seat and to warm it up for the aristocrat man. When the aristocrat man arrives, he says hello to everybody, and by following his special technique, he was taking his seat. Maybe you remember from the old movies, Roman guys always wear the white and long dress. Why? Because of here. When they are taking their seat, they take the skirt up. After they sit, they cover it back. So when they are chatting side by side, they only see the faces. The rest of the body was always covered by the dress. Once they finish the business, they call the slave one more time. This time, slave is coming with the natural sponge, which they collect from the tap of the agency. As you see, there is one water channel here. Water was running always very fast here. So the man, the slave, need to wet the sponge to clean the aristocrat men. They never clean themselves. They always ask their slaves to wash them. There was no problem for the smell. Channel inside was quite deep. There was another water over there which is flashing immediately outside. So even they were busy, I can tell you smell was no problem. But sometimes in this kind of public toilet, there can be some problem for hearing the bad noises. But Ephesus people were so smart. They got a great solution for this. In the middle, there was the place for the orchestra. The musicians were playing some nice music. They don't hear any other thing besides that music.